From the trial of the man charged with killing conservative activist Charlie Kirk to Luigi Mangione, that's going to be a huge one. The man accused of gunning down a UnitedHealthcare CEO, and the most recently case of the high-profile killings of beloved Hollywood film director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle. So we're going to talk this through with criminal defense attorney Ken Belkin. Thank you very much for being here, and Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year. Thanks for having me, Laura.
All right, so we do have some tough cases to talk through. So first, let's talk about the most recent one, the killing of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. As we know, their son, Nick, has been charged with their murders. There is a court hearing set for next week, all eyes on that. And it seems like the defense is poised to present an insanity plea after reports surfaced that Nick had recently been diagnosed with schizophrenia. So how do you see it playing out? Obviously, that's going to matter, but how do you see this working?
So, look, the insanity defense is notoriously difficult to mount at trial. Juries are loath to believe it historically. And it's a two-pronged test, really. One, you have to establish that the defendant had some sort of mental disease or defect, in this case, schizophrenia, and that two, that mental illness prevented him from appreciating the difference between right and wrong when he committed the alleged acts. Now, the reality is, Nick Reiner, in the aftermath of allegedly committing these murders, what did he do? He ran to a motel and checked in at 4 a.m. Now, people don't run off and abscond to motels at 4 a.m. when they don't believe that they have a reason to flee. And that's, I think, one thing the prosecution is going to harp on that is going to make it quite difficult for the defense to successfully mount an insanity defense here.
That is a really important point. And also, we've got the stories and the reports that they were at a Christmas party at Conan O'Brien's house, and that Nick allegedly had made, remarks to people, and even Rob Reiner had said, according to people at the party, that he was fearful of his son and wasn't sure what was going to happen next. And obviously, their relationship and the troubles that they had with Nick Reiner are well documented with a documentary and all the interviews that they've done. So I'm sure that that's all going to come out too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, he's had a very checkered past with his parents. They have, what some people would say, they have enabled him with close to 18 stints in rehab. I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've represented a lot of clients who have gone to rehab. I have not known many clients who have done 18 stints in rehab and were being subsidized by their parents, allegedly, to the tune of about $10,000 per month, while allowing them to live on the family grounds in a guest house. This was a ticking time bomb, and really, it's very sad to say that the parents, in a lot of ways, their way of treating Nick Reiner has directly caused this.
Well, we'll have to see how this plays out. There's going to be a lot of people that are going to weigh in on that issue and about like that way of thinking about it. And you use the word enabling. I think that other people might say that they were simply just trying to help their son and doing everything that they could. But we'll see how that one plays out. I want to get your take on Luigi Mangione's case. His lawyers are challenging the constitutionality of the death penalty, as we know. So explain what they're arguing here, because what we witnessed, allegedly, at Luigi's hands was pretty heinous. And then you've got all the supporters showing up at court. I've seen them because I've been down at the courthouse, and it's wild how many people show up to support him. Let's talk about the death penalty in this case and how that's being challenged.
Yeah, I mean, look, from my perspective, the government is well within its rights to request the death penalty, at least on the federal case. This is almost a textbook case where a prosecution would request the death penalty. You've got a high level of premeditation and planning. I mean, this man went to great lengths, allegedly, to conceal his actions. He went to great lengths to commit this assassination, allegedly. There was fleeing. There was all sorts of indications that would make the government warranted for pursuing the death penalty. Now, the New York State case, we don't do the death penalty in New York. So it's not a question of the death penalty in New York. But as far as challenging it, one of the defense's main arguments is that he's being tried essentially for the same crime twice in two jurisdictions. How successful of an argument that will be, I don't know, because there's something known as the dual sovereign doctrine. And the federal government is allowed to bring this case, even though there's a simultaneous state case.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.